Привіт, мене звати Саша, і я симулюю своє життя. Як доказ, я зараз знімаю реакцію на відео з YouTube. Так, це моє життя. Отож, я вирішила не витрачати кілька годин на те, щоб зрозуміти, як працює створення персонажа в Sims 4 і просто подивитися гайд. Тобто, огляд, інструкцію, путівник, як це не перекладає. І заодно зняти свою реакцію на це. Бо чому б ні, мені потрібно робити контент якось. Для когось. Чомусь. Що я роблю? Добре, поїхали.
Hey guys, today we are going to create a sim like a nerd. We are covering everything. Did you know there are over 48 different customization options just in the Sims face? To resize
Тобто 48 можливостей все налаштувати у Sims? Це багатсько. Але чи це важливо?
the whole face all at once, you can click the forehead and move your mouse around. You should be able to make the face wider and narrower and longer and shorter. You can also click around this area to rotate the eyebrows, and then this moves them up and down and also makes them slightly larger and slightly smaller. For the nose, you can rotate the nose by clicking the upper bridge and getting that little rotate.
Цікаво, хтось цими налаштуваннями взагалі користується. Окрім когось дуже такого прискіпливого. Здається, більшість це ігнорує. Хоча можна сказати, що якщо у тебе є в голові якесь конкретне обличчя, це корисно, але сумніваюся, що у більшості людей таке є. Але це цікаво.
Arrow there, this will change the direction that the tip of your nose is pointing, so we can point it down or point it up. You can also click toward the middle of the bridge to get this 4-direction arrow, and this will let you widen the
давайте чесними, у цій грі завжди можна було зробити карпатий ніс. Тому це не така вже новина. Просто те, що це можна такими рухами зробити, це корисна інформація, начебто.
The nose, as well as move it up and down on the face. You can't move the nose like to one side or the other, although that would be fun. And you can also click just to the side of the nose here to make the whole thing larger or smaller. You can move the eyes by clicking toward the middle of the eye, and you get this 4-direction arrow. You can move them up, down, side to side, closer together, and so on. You can also make them larger or smaller by clicking on the outside. You get this sort of like stacked looking icon. You can also rotate the eyes by clicking on the inner corner and rotate them up or down. The mouth works similarly. If you select the middle, you can move it around and resize it by moving your mouse or controller buttons or whatever have you in different directions. You can also click the outer corners of the mouth, and with that 4-direction arrow, you can move those up and down a bit. We can get more into that later as well. Most of this actually has additional features, but anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. You can also resize and move the upper cheeks, move them up and down, and resize them by pulling out or in. And the lower cheeks, move up and down, in and out. So yeah, upper cheeks, lower cheeks, also the jaw, which is a separate area entirely, which you can also move around and resize. You can also move the chin up.
Мені сподобалось цей рух такий руховий. Вібрація підборіддя. Танець підборіддя.
Up and down and resize it a bit. You can also resize and rotate the ears away from the head or toward the head and make them larger or smaller. And you can resize the neck by making it wider or narrower. Also, you can rotate your sim by clicking to the side and drag.
Отож, судячи з вуху і з того, що можна зробити з носом, ви можете зробити людину слона. Начебто, нашість. Хоча комусь таке подобається.
Dragging your mouse, or by pressing your scroll wheel and moving it, or by using whatever your standard rotational buttons are, or by clicking these little rotation arrows down here. Anyway, from the side, which can be anywhere from about a 3/4 view to just straight up the side of the head, you can actually click on the eyes and move the eye socket, so you can move the depth of the eye here. You can also move the eyebrows forward and backwards on the skull. You can resize the nose here as well and rotate it. This is probably going to give you a little bit of a better idea of what exactly is happening. For the most part, the nose controls are the same as from the front though. You can also move the lips in and out.
Отож, те, що я зрозуміла ще з минулих ігор, коли ти так налаштовуєш персонажа, треба враховувати не тільки вид у фас, а й в профіль. Це така примітка з мого особистого досвіду. Тобто у тебе може бути все гарно фарс, повертаєш у профіль, і у тебе там якийсь захід. Тому так, треба вертіти свого стріма, щоб оцінити загальний результат. Якось так.
Out of the face here, as well as up and down like from the front view. You have a bit of extra control over the chin as well, and you can also move the back of the neck from this view. So you can see the back of my skull here, that can change from the side view. Now you may have been looking at...
Можна регулювати потилицю? Я, якщо чесно, не розумію, на що це, адже вона зазвичай прикрита зачіскою. Це важливо хіба що ви робите дійсно лисого персонажа. Знаєте, такого братка з 90-х, щоб у нього була така шия.
This detail edit mode. What can you do in detail edit mode? I am so glad you asked. You can either double click on the face or you can click on this little magnifying glass to enter detail edit mode. From the side, again, you can rotate the position of the ears like this just by clicking and dragging back and forth.
Ні, серйозно, це так смішно, як вуха туди-сюди ходять. Це, я розумію, що це інструкція, але просто це дійсно смішно виглядає.
You can also actually move the forehead in detail edit mode. You can do some of the same movements as from the standard side view as well, like the eye sockets and the eyebrows, but you can also move the bridge of the nose independently here, which is very nice. You can also move the tip of the nose independently. You can move the upper lip as well as the lower lip independently. We can also move the mouth corners further back on the face or further forward on the face, and you can move the chin a tiny bit more here. And we can move the jaw. This looks quite similar to our other movement, but it is a little...
Цей рух схожий на те, що воно щось жує. Господи, не думала, що редагування саме дивитися на це може бути так весело. Зрозуміло, чому хтось просто транслює, як створює персонажа. Це дійсно може бути смішно.
A little bit different. I tested this extensively. Looking at detail edit mode from the front, we can resize the shape of the face again, except this only changes the face, not the entire skull. So you can see my face is getting wider and narrower, but the skull itself isn't. For a refresher, in normal mode, we can widen and shrink the whole skull. The detail mode will just adjust the face. We can also adjust the arch of the eyebrows by clicking anywhere on the eyebrow.
Пограємо бровами. Цікаво, чи є всім взагалі така анімація грати бровами?
Brow and moving our mouse up and down. The eyes, probably the most impressive part of this, we can move pretty much everything. We can move the upper eyelid, the lower eyelid, the outer corner of the eye, the inner corner of the eye, and even resize the iris.
Oh.
We can adjust the bridge of the nose up here.
Це таке розширення очей, це навіть моторошно. Отож, ви можете зробити начебто 3D аніме візуалізацію. З цими великими очима, великими стіницями. Хоча, хто дійсно буде так колупатися у створенні сінцю, мені завжди набридало на певному моменті. Добре знати усі ці можливості заздалегідь, не дарма я подивилася це відео.
As well as down here, we can also adjust the width of the tip of the nose. We can adjust the nostrils on the outside here, as well as down here. If I can grab it, it's a little tricky. This will adjust the height and the width of the nostril there as well. The upper cheek is pretty much the same as in the other mode, but the lower cheek is a little bit different. We have slightly less range of movement here, so it's nice.
Здається, тут вже пішло повторення. Тобто вона вже показувала, як можна вилиці регулювати, як щелепу регулювати. Це просто вже пішло повторення.
For just refining that last little bit. The upper lip we can pull up or down to resize. We can also move side to side to adjust the width of any indentation or lack of indentation in the upper lip. Same with the lower lip. Make it larger, make it smaller, move it side to side. We can also move the mouth corners more dramatically here to do all the way turned down or all the way turned up. We can move the jaw, which again is a little bit different than some of the other jaw movements we see in the other edit modes. It just all comes down to refining, and same with the chin. Now we'll talk talk about some of the elements of the face. So if you click on the forehead, brings up head shape. This changes mostly lighting. It doesn't change the shape a ton. So like if I'm switching around between these, you can see that the shape of my face isn't changing, but where the shadows are is changing. So that's going to give the illusion of a different brow bone.
Тобто окрема, наче це як форма голови йде, але по суті це просто змінює тіні, що насправді змінює сприйняття об'єму. Це значно складніша механіка, ніж просто рухати щось. Це цікаво, але чи дійсно це так потрібно? Не знаю. Це якщо дійсно хтось дуже прискіпливий.
Structure. It may also change where the eyebrows are located. However, for the most part, you can change this again by just clicking and dragging. Speaking of eyebrows, if you click on the eyebrows, you get so many different eyebrow options. You can have them match the hair or not, and you can change them to any color that you can usually use for your hair. When you're looking for your eyebrows, some of them are farther apart, like these are a bit farther apart to start with, these are a little bit closer together. That you can't change a ton, but remember that you can change the position, the size a little bit, and the arch in detailed edit mode. Next up are the eyes, and here are a few things you want to pay attention to in the eyes. Some of them have these eyelashes, these little cartoony thick black lines. Some of them don't have as much of a lash. Some of them...
Ще помітила, це значно ширший вибір елементів. Він був покоротше і, можна сказати, різноманітніший. Тобто базових очей, від яких ти можеш відходити і їх регулювати.
Have shadows around them that make them look like they're deeper set, like set further back in the skull. Some of them do not. Some of them have quite pronounced eyelids, and some of them don't. And there's pretty much every combination under the sun here. Again, paying attention to the things that we can't change. We can't change the shadow, so we can't change the perception of the depth of the eye. We can't change the eyelash, but we can change the rotation, we can change the size, we can change the...
Отож, наскільки я розумію, тут не можна змінювати саме те, що намальоване, тіні, об'єм, який переданий розфарбуванням, але розмір, положення змінювати можна. Тобто світло і тінь навколо очей ти не зміниш, а от пропорції повертіти їх туди-сюди можна. Зрозуміло.
Position, we can change the color, all those good things. There are so many different eye colors to choose from, including a lot of classics, some very vibrant colors, and purple. Because who doesn't want purple? If you decide to go for an eye that does have the illusion of being set further back in the face, you probably want to make sure that you're not dragging it all the way to the front, because that is going to look a little bit weird. Similarly, if you have one that does not look as far back in the face, you're probably not going to want to pull it super far back, because then the shadows and lighting might just not quite make sense. Next up is the nose. Much like most of the rest of the face, a lot of this can be changed. The width of the bridge can be changed. The exact position of the nostrils can be changed. However, just the overall ratio of the nose, you can't change as much. So like this one, we can make pretty wide, for example, but this one's wider to start with, so we can make it much wider. We also have assorted cheek options. This, much like the forehead, doesn't really change the overall shape of the face. Like, if we turn slightly to the side, you can see that there are some shape changes happening, but these can be modified easily by clicking and dragging. Really, what this is going to change are the shadows present on the face. So if I go up here and click this one, we can see that there are shadows around the edges of the face.
Мені здається, це змінення щік, воно ледь помітно. Дійсно, деякі з них мають сенс, але з іншого боку, дійсно, різниця мало помітна. Тобто, якщо ви там по міліметру це не враховуєте, то не думаю, що це дуже важливо. Але якщо ви намагаєтесь когось реального відтворити, думаю, це допоможе.
And some shadow lines here around the mouth. And we can see some of those changing a little bit, like this one angles slightly more up. It's hard to point it out on the screen with my cursor because it keeps highlighting things. Some of them will change a little bit as you move the face around, but by and large, pay attention to the shadows because this will make your Sim's face look fairly different. Now, both the upper and lower cheeks are the same in this case. Whoops. We can also set different jaws, and these you can really see mostly from the side. So if I'm clicking through these, you can see how it's moving where my chin is, but it's also moving where the neck connects to the rest of the face. This is something you can't change. So this one I can pull out, and I can't move that neck back.
Отож, як не дивно, потилицю ти змінювати можеш, а от шия у тебе тільки стандартні налаштування. Що дивно. Тобто, нащо робити коригування потилиці, якщо ти не можеш регулювати спереду? Чому? Не знаю.
In. And I can't, well, I can move the jaw in, but I can't like change the point where the neck connects. The chin, like everything else, a lot of it you can resize and reshape. However, the little indentations in the chin or lack thereof, the overall shape, how strong this shadow is below the lower lip, that is all going to depend on which chin you choose. And also lips. Let's not forget lips, the lips of the face. So many different presets here. Yes, of course, we can change so many different features like I've pointed out.
А ці такі губи. Як сказати, одним кліком і ніяких ін'єкцій.
One other thing I want to point out here is how each lip, not only does it have an overall different shape, but it also protrudes from the face differently. So you can see here that there's a bit of skin here, and then we go into the lip. Overall, the lip is fairly parallel to the face. And we can contrast that to this lip, which is actually quite flat to the face. It doesn't really protrude very much here. Or this.
Наскільки я зрозуміла, всі ці стандартні варіації, які у тебе там є в каталозі, вони більше про колір та форму. Ти їх теж можеш налаштовувати як хочеш, але у кожної з них є елементи, які не змінюються. А залишаються такими, якби ти їх не крутив. Наче так.
Slip, which does protrude from the face but angles back in toward the face. Also ears. Now the ears, they're all the same. Like we don't have different patterns of inner ear. It's just all the same ear sort of reconfigured, so you can adjust these however you want. A lot of these details may seem very, very small, but if you're trying to recreate somebody from real life, little details like how strong their cupid's bow is, or where the bridge of their nose is the widest, or how upturned the corners of their eyes are can really add up and bring it from, oh, hey, that almost looks like this person, to, oh my gosh, this is this person. Now we're going to talk about the body.
Отож, наскільки я розумію, автор відео зі мною згоден, що більшість усіх цих налаштувань мають значення, якщо ти намагаєшся відтворити когось реального, щось конкретне. Бо коли ти вигадуєш образ голови, ти зазвичай не думаєш про усі ці деталі, ти їх просто підбираєш вже в процесі. І більшості з цих можливостей ти все одно користуватись не будеш. Це, мабуть, і для поціновувачів відтвори справжню особу.
Now, the body is not nearly as customizable as the face. So, first of all, we have the sliders over here. I recommend setting the muscle mass as well as the overall body mass slider to about where you want your sim to be before you make the rest of these adjustments. I'm going to go in the middle today. So, starting at the top, we can resize the head. This is the exact same as before. It's just a little bit easier to see if it's to scale to our sim if we do it from here. We can also resize the neck, and same as ever. From this angle, we can make the shoulders more narrow or more broad. We can also...
наскільки я розумію, скрутінням голови саме в такому повному розмірі тіла, воно добре, щоб зрозуміти пропорції. Бо коли ти працюєш тільки з головою, ти можеш не розуміти, як воно з усім цілим тілом поєднується. А це теж важливо. Боже, як воно химерно виглядає з лисою головою. Це навіть химерніше, ніж ті брова та очі.
Also resize the upper arms and the lower arms independently. We can resize and move the chest up and down. Again, this is the same for males and females. Now, for children and toddlers, there may be a few controls that are a bit different just because, you know, developmental life stages do be a bit different. We can also change the waist width and the hip width. We can change the width of the thighs, the width of the calves, and the size of the feet. From the side, once again, the...
Що, навіть розмір ноги можна регулювати? Це дійсно такі можливості для химерних персонажів. Ти можеш створити морячка Папая. Або щось таке саме більше схоже на карикатуру або мультиплікацію з диспропорційним тілом. Тобто, хочеш роби гарний, хочеш роби потворний. Дійсно, можливостей багато.
Controls are a bit different here. We can actually move the shoulders forward or back. It's not a very dramatic change, but it's definitely something that could add a lot of character if coupled with moving the curve of the spine. So if we bring the shoulders forward and bring the spine down, we end up with a bit of a slouch, or we could bring the spine up, pull the shoulders back. And there you go. Posture.
Тобто така невеликі поради з коригування постави, як ти можеш у персонажі. Це дійсно досить тонкий штрих.
Something. We can also resize the butt from this angle and the stomach. The rest of it is the same as from the front. There are no additional controls in the back, it's just more of the same. Now we're actually going to branch out and start going through some of these menus, starting with the face menu. Now this has a lot of sub-menus, starting with skin tones. There are so many different skin tones. So many different skin tones. Each skin tone also has a slider, which can make it slightly darker or slightly brighter. Another point where if you're trying to replicate somebody in real life, you can try and get pretty close, and let's say, ooh, this is close and I want to save this. You can do so by pressing the plus sign. And you're like, wait, maybe their skin's a bit warmer.
Тож можна зберігати окремо коригування, яке ти зробив. Хоча я б не сказала, це, звісно, не коло кольору, яке було у третій грі, але це теж більш-менш зручно. Начебто. Цікаво, чому вони все-таки прибрали це кольорове регулювання більш точно? Єдиний варіант, щоб зберегти більше місця.
So then you go up here and you're like, this might be closer as well. And then you can actually just go back and forth between your two saved skin tones and see which one is closer. This nose is freaking me out a little bit, but that's okay. We can move on to faces next. When you click on the face, this will undo everything that we just did. Ta-da! Fresh new face, everything fresh to start with. If I have like a...
Отож, тут є заготовки під ціле обличчя. Ну, я не знаю. Мабуть, це просто дійсно зручно. Стільки регулювань тобі потрібна якась база, якщо тобі подобається те, що тут є. Якщо чесно, ні одно з цих облич мене якось не надихає.
Body or outfits that I like, but my face just isn't clicking with me anymore. I can quickly reset everything without losing everything that I worked on down here. Granted, we don't have any clothes right now. YouTube, ignore that. Next up are skin details. This is interesting. So the skin details are permanent, whereas clothes and makeup you can change per outfit. These you cannot. These are going to stick with you. They're also kind of stackable and kind of not. You can...
Ну, деталі шкіри це дійсно непоганий параметр. Тобто вони стабільні і стаціонарні. Але я не знаю. Здається, тут їх просто... Думаю, потрібно побачити більше варіантів, щоб оцінити.
Pick one sort of like upper half of the face wrinkle and one lower half of the face wrinkle. And you can pick a freckle, but you can't layer multiple freckles. This freckle does have two different swatches, which just affects the size. There are also moles, which do generally stack with freckles. Some of them you can stack together, some of them you can't. For example, these two sets of moles that are all on the same side of the face, you can't have both, you just have to pick one. Now the birthmarks should stack with the freckles. Yes, okay, good. Also, at any point, if you want to clear everything, you can just click this little X, whichever is on the category that you want to clear specifically, and that'll take it all off. We also have birthmarks, some of which are base game, some of which are locked in the Growing Together pack, and the vitiligo, which should pretty much all be full face, so you will also not be able to stack this. Now,
ну, можна вже сказати, що це принаймні значно різноманітніше з особливостями шкіри. До цього ти міг просто додати кілька родинок. А тут у тебе дійсно є варіативність. І схоже з зубами так само.
We also have teeth. Some teeth come with extra packs, like we have these gold teeth from Get Famous. Oh, I turned my clock off so my sim wouldn't move, but now I can't show you the teeth. Okay, my sim is moving again.
Боже, золоті зуби. Це досі актуально? Я думала, це все залишилось у далекому минулому, але хто зараз робить золоті зуби? Це все одно ще пофарбовані чорним лаком зуби. Була така фішка у Східній Азії, у Кореї та Японії, там фарбували чорним лаком зуби, щоб вони не псувались. Отож, у шляхетних панянок були такі чорні зуби пофарбовані, лаковані, як добові меблі. Але золоті зуби – це дійсно вибух з минулого.
And now I can show you the teeth. So we have some gold-plated teeth with Get Famous. We also have some lovely mermaid teeth from Island Living. Oh, we also have braces, which is great if you want your teens to look a little bit younger. We also have brow details. Currently, this is just scars. Cheek details, which are also just scars. We also have eye details, which some are...
Шрами – це цікаво. Такого, здається, ще не було. Це дійсно можна створити персонажів з характером та історією. І мішки під очима. Дійсно, стало значно більше цікавих деталей.
Scars, and we also have eye bags. Eye details do not stack. If you want eye bags and scars, I recommend grabbing an eye shape that has more pronounced eyelids and then adding scars. That's going to be about what you get to do with that. We also have mouth details, which again are currently just scars. We also have body details, so if you click on the body icon down here, it literally just says body. We also have skin tones. We already went through all that. We can do body presets, which will just change your sim's body. We also have tattoos. Now these are permanent, cannot be changed per outfit, and for the most part don't stack. I can't pick, for example, both this tattoo and this tattoo on the same arm. They will not go. However, this one will just stay on no matter what other tattoos you put on. I don't know if that's a bug or not, so if that's been patched after I put this video up and you're not able to do that, I apologize for the misinformation. But you should be able to put tattoos on opposing arms, legs, ankles, back, chest, stomach even. We've got a lot of options here. We also have...
До речі, кількість та різноманітність тату дійсно у цій грі показує зміну ставлення суспільства до татуювань загалом. Думаю, це досить цікавий маркер.
Have arm hair. If you just have the base game, you'll have two options and you will not have this enabled hair growth. If you can enable hair growth, you have high school years. Also, I'm going to set the clock back to 0 again. I'll show you how to do that at the end of the video in that portion. Anyway, the sim moving around is going to be difficult to edit around. Back to arm hair. So you can select arm hair, you can change the color, you can have it match your head hair, you can change it to be whatever you want.
Це дійсно цікаво. Блакитне волосся на руках. Ну, думаю, з ногами та ж справа. Тобто таке. Це дійсно буде цікавий образ. Я такий бунтар, що навіть фарбую волосся на руках. Так, одне шкода, що не можна зробити волосся на руках. Тобто ця рука буде у нас блакитного кольору, а ця зеленого кольору волосся. До такого божевілля навіть вони не дійшли, але я думаю, можна зробити різне волосся на руках і ногах різного кольору.
If the hair growth is enabled, then here you will select your preferred hair, but over time in game, the hair will grow and you will have to have your sim shave it in the shower. So you can set that here. You can also set torso hair, which is the exact same thing. Back hair is again the exact same system. Leg hair, believe it or not, the exact same system again. And
Ні, мені дійсно цікаво, чи на кожній частині тіла можна встановлювати різний колір волосся, чи ні. Це було б цікаво, якщо б так. О, ще шрами, укуси. Тут, наскільки я розумію, більшість шрамів пішли з набору з перевертнями.
And now we're going to move on to body scars. Body scars, like tattoos, are one per area of the body. We also have skin details. So these do stack, kind of. The vitiligo and the birthmarks are exclusive, so you can only have one or the other per area of the body. Same with these freckle sets. You can have only one of them on at a time, so you can stack the freckles and the moles, but you cannot stack the vitiligo and the birthmarks. We also have stretch marks, which do stack. And finally down here we have medical wearables. These are once again permanent fixtures. If you have one, then it will stay on for every outfit. There are a lot more colors in here than I realized, and I'm pretty excited about that. We are back to the face again, and I'm actually skipping all the way down to makeup because I want to show you my super secret, not super secret at all, combination for making your Sims feel like they're actually alive. First, of course, the categories. Makeup, if you just go to makeup, there's everything. If you click eyes, this is all the eyeshadow, eye glitter, eye-based makeup, face paint, stuff like that. All of these lovely things are in the eye makeup. We also have eyeliner, which is eyeliner and adjacent makeup looks. We also have cheeks, which is sort of blush, which we have both like fun colors and patterns and also more traditional settings. We also have the lips, which is lip stain, lipstick, lip gloss, lip.
Я б сказала, тут замали варіація з рум'янами. Тобто їх повинно бути більше, тут просто такі рум'яна і фантазійні рум'яна. Зі всім іншим значно більше вибір. Чому так, хрін його знає.
Whatever else goes on your lips, I guess. And finally, face paint, which is like everything that didn't fit in other categories. We do have face paint. We have face sparkles. These do sparkle, which is delightful. We have this sort of like running makeup look. We have some costume-based makeup. I think this is supposed to be for a video game that I don't play. There is sunscreen as well. As far as I know, this doesn't keep your sim from getting burned, but it is cute. Now, something I do want to show you is in every single makeup category, we have all of these sliders. So of course you can pick a swatch as per the usual, but you can also adjust the hue, the opacity, the saturation on most, some do have it disabled like this one, and the brightness of any face paint or makeup. So say I want...
Керуватись прозорістю різними варіаціями макіяжу, це дійсно додає навіть з обмеженим вибіром більше варіацій.
Purple, but I want it to be a little bit more of a blue purple. I can drag the hue slightly to the left. If I don't want it to be quite so thick, I can bring the opacity down. If I want it to be a bit brighter and bolder, I can bring the saturation up, and same with the brightness up. And if I really, really like this and want to save it for another outfit, I can click the little save button, and there it is. How exciting! Now you really can have matching makeup for everything.
Цікаво, збережені ці налаштування на створення інших сімів розповсюджується, чи це просто для цього персонажа? Чи кожного разу, коли ти створюєш нового сіма, ти можеш брати свої ці заготовки і налаштування?
So let's talk about my secret combination. I like doing this right at the start when I'm getting my sim made up. First thing, I want to bring some life to these cheeks, so I'm going to grab one of the MAC blushes, and I'm going to go through and find the one that just brings a little bit to the face. I don't want something super bright, just a little bit, so I can barely tell there's a difference. So if I turn it off and turn it on, there's just a little bit of dimension on the face. So I'm going to keep that. Then I would actually go through and put this on all the outfits. So this was this swatch. So I'm going to go through to every single outfit and adjust it there. For example, maybe for swimwear, I actually do want to make it a little bit redder because maybe I'm getting sunburned and spending too much time in the pool. Same with hot weather. And cold weather, maybe I'll make it a little bit cooler or very pink and look more like a wind rash. Step.
Отож, під кожне вбрання можна окремо налаштовувати макіяж. Це забагато роботи налаштовувати, але це логічно. Якщо ти хочеш кожного разу шикарний образ, то налаштовувати макіяж це дійсно логічно. Під кожний випадок.
2 is going down to the lips. Once again, I'm using the MAC lips for this because they're base game and they're easy. I use this one that's like half tinted just because I want to add a little bit of color to the inside of the lip. So it brings just a little bit of life. This one is also often where I'll mess with the the hue and the opacity and all that jazz. But there, without and with. Also in face paint, besides all the other face paint, there's this option here, the Peachy Fairy little collaboration thing. This is actually highlighter, so you can add just a smidge. Honestly, I feel like this one's probably what I'm going to want for this sim. So here's what she looks like now, and if I remove the makeup, we're back to flat face. With makeup, without the makeup. In my opinion, it's a subtle difference, but my goodness is it a difference. Let's finish up these face categories, shall we? So next up is hair. Obviously, if we click hair...
О, ми нарешті дійшли до волосся. Бо серйозно, ця лиса дівчина мене вже трохи бентежить.
We get to hair. We have so many different hair colors we can choose from. When you're scrolling through, you might notice that some...
Так, це точно не її колір. Але я розумію, що це просто демонстрація, але все ж. А можливо, це просто тому, що вона 18 хвилин 55 секунд була лисою, і тепер з зачіскою вона мені здається дивною. Але добре.
Some hairs have some fun colors. For example, this one's pink. That is just to let you know that, hey, these colors aren't going to be the same as what you would usually see. This is a good example where the base of the hair will be whatever color you select, but the ends of the hair are going to be something different. Changing the hair color will often also...
Ось, якщо чесно, це досить незручно. Тобто, воно автоматично, коли зачіска, ти вибираєш основний колір, а от комплементарний тобі підкидає гра. Як ти вибираєш основний колір, а колір аксесуару тебе теж підбирає гра. Тобто ви не довіряєте, що я можу підібрати гарний колір одного і другого, так? От так от. Тобто, що зачіски з аксесуарами, там колір аксесуару теж прив'язаний до кольору волосся. Якщо чесно, це сумнівне рішення, але я не розробник гри. Чому вони так зробили? Мабуть, просто, щоб дійсно економити начебто місця програми. Але якщо вони хотіли зекономити час гравцю, нащо було встановлювати усі ці налаштування на обличчя і тіло? Я не розумію, чому стільки свобод на те, щоб зробити форму носа, але ти мало що можеш зробити з волосся. Хоча зазвичай у реальному житті все навпаки. Ти з волосся можеш зробити що завгодно, а от з тілом це вже важче.
Change whatever color the accessory is in the hair. So use caution if you're going to go with a hairstyle with a headband, and make sure you pick a hair color and headband color you like, because you're stuck with it. We can sort hair by short, medium, long, and updo, and we can also go over here. I'll go more into this in a few seconds.
Це приємно, що ти можеш сортувати саме по довжині волосся. Зачіски. Бо коли у тебе все було одним потоком усі зачіски, це дійсно було трохи виснажливо шукати, що ти хочеш.
But I do want to show you here how we can sort the length, same as in here, but we can also sort by texture, so we can get exclusively afro-textured, exclusively straight, or exclusively wavy, which does include curly hair. That'll help you narrow down your options if you have a specific story that you're telling.
Так, дійсно, ці сортування, це дійсно зручно. Більш-менш.
We also have multiple accessories, so we have hats. Baseball caps includes these caps as well. Brimless also includes costume type things and alien type things, so that's good to keep in mind. Oh, and the bag.
Так, стоп. Обличчя прибульця у категорії шапки? Ні, ще паперовий пакет я можу зрозуміти. Але обличчя прибульця – це шапка. Це радикальна шапка.
Obviously the bag doesn't have a brim, and then the brimmed hats are more like top hats, pirate hats, sun hats, and the like. Down here in accessories, we have piercings. Piercings, once again, I can have two face piercings. They just have to be on opposite sides of the face. And I can have multiple nose piercings so long as they're on opposite sides of the nose. You cannot have multiple ear piercings unless you have a pack that comes with a multiple pierced ear, such as this one, which has two. We also have glasses. Now this includes glasses, I know you're shocked, as well as masks, which come in a couple different packs. We also have necklaces, which includes necklaces.
Отож, маски у нас теж в біжутерії. Буде гарно знати. От так от.
I know you saw that coming. And also these chest corsages, also bandanas, and medical wearables. We have the hearing aids here. This is the only medical wearable in this category currently, and you can select different colors or to wear them or not with different outfits.
Додати слуховий апарат у гру це дійсно цікаво, але сумніваюся, що це буде якось впливати на сам процес гри. Це буде просто аксесуар. Хоча, якби там дійсно були варіанти, щоб особливі налаштування були, або особливо взаємодії. Але це вже занадто багато. Тому це більше для показухи.
Before we get into all this, let's talk about the menu I said I would show you. So if you click this little arrow here, we can sort items just like in build mode. So we can sort by all of the colors available in the game, all of the different materials that clothes may be tagged with. We can tag specific outfit categories, which are automatically tagged in these. Like if I go over to sleepwear, it's only going to show me things tagged as sleepwear. But if I wanted to bring those categories to a different area, that's where you'd find them in the outfit categories. Also fashion choice, that's what it's called. Feminine, masculine, both or neither. We can also set the style. It's a pretty handy way to sort stuff out, especially for somebody like me who's not really a create a sim person. If I decide I want a country hipster and I can just select this and have slightly fewer clothes to scroll through, all the better. We also have special, which is just birthday stuff, which is one shirt, but whatever. We can also go by purchased content, which is everything not base game. Locked content, which are all the unlockable items in Create a Sim. Some of them, like this one, requires a knitting skill to unlock. Some of them you have to purchase at Thrifty.
Так, добре, я розумію, що є якийсь закритий контент. Але нащо його показувати при створенні персонажа? Мабуть, і це просто покази. Ви можете це отримати, якщо виконати якісь умови. Тобто, ти все одно не можеш зараз цим користуватися. Нащо показувати це в загальній купі? Не знаю, це сумнівне рішення, але з іншого боку, це показує, що це може бути твоїм. Але зараз це не твоє.
Some of them you can unlock at different festivals, and so on. You can also get Sims on the gallery that have everything unlocked. Just search everything unlocked under households and you should be good. We can also sort by custom content only. And finally, we can of course sort by specific packs. When you're setting up your different outfits, you may also see this little arrow up here. You can actually set up to 5 different outfits per category. So since there are 8 different categories and up to 5 outfits per category, that means a total of up to 40 outfits. This can be really handy for testing out different little bits and pieces of your outfit. Like, maybe I like this, but I kind of want to see what it would look like with a different color top and compare them. Whatever outfit you're on will duplicate to be the next one, so then I could compare this color, and then maybe I want to compare this top as well. And now I can switch through, decide which one I like, and then delete the others. Alright, starting at the top with styled looks. Styled looks...
Якщо чесно, я не зовсім зрозуміла, що там за механіка. Хіба що ти можеш просто обирати, зробити кілька варіантів одного і того ж вбрання, потім їх порівняти разом і вибрати, які тобі більше подобаються. А якщо ти їх не видали, що буде? Просто збережеться номер 1?
Are stupid because they completely override everything. It'd be nice if it was more segmented and we had a styled makeup section as well as a styled clothes section. That would be far more useful. Goodbye, styled look. Now, tops. Tops are split into so many different categories. We have blouses.
Так, наскільки я зрозуміла, образ це просто для лінивих. коли тобі ліньки возитися з усіми цими категоріями одягу і все таке, ти просто береш образ і йдеш далі. Хоча цікаво, воно образ тільки на один, на повсякденний варіант вбрання, а потім образ поширюється на всі інші. Здається, тільки на один варіант, тобто на повсякденний, спортивний і так далі. Хоча треба буде подивитись.
Jackets, t-shirts, we have sweaters, tanks, button-up, sweatshirts, suit jackets, polos, brassieres, swimsuits, and vests. Now these are the same for all the frame types. Well, again, some exceptions may be made for children, but for the most part, these are the same. One thing you do want to be somewhat mindful of is, once again, the shadows on some of the pieces may be a bit odd. So if I switch over to masculine, you'll notice that they fit okay. But if I were to sort by feminine and change my sim over to a bro, little dude bro, you're going to notice that some of the shadows are just going to look a little bit odd, because a lot of the texture on these clothes isn't actually texture, it's paint. They add shadows to make things appear to be there. Just something to keep in mind. For full body, we have jumpsuits, long dresses, short dresses, sets, outerwear, costumes, robes, lingerie, aprons, overalls, and swimsuits. For bottoms, we have...
Ну, що я можу сказати? Це дійсно більше сортування допоможе. Коли у тебе така купа одягу, я пам'ятаю, які прокручувала, щоб знайти хоч щось. Бо шорти у тебе були у тій же категорії, що і спідниці. Це дійсно допомагає з пошуком. Це вони непогано налаштували.
Pants, skirts, shorts, skin tight, jeans, cropped, underwear, and swimwear. Under accessories, we have bracelets, which includes bracelets. I know, you're shocked. Also cute little things like scrunchies, the wrist corsage, and higher like armband type things, watches, just basically anything that go on the wrist or arm and counts as jewelry would be in bracelets. We also have gloves, which includes gloves, as well as bandages, rings, which is just rings, actually, fingernails, which is all sorts of different fingernail textures. Now, this is another thing that even if you just have the base game, I would recommend adding to your sim, even if it's barely visible, because otherwise they look like they have no nails. Also, toenails. There's literally one option for toenails, but it's there if you want it. Also, leggings. Ooh, I did have to make a point.
Стільки варіантів для манікюру і тільки одна для педикюру. Не цінуєте ви нас, не цінуєте ви ноги своїх сім'їв. Боже, я, здається, трохи дурію.
Point about the leggings. Some of the tops are actually bodysuits, like this one. Bottoms will go over the bodysuit, but leggings will go under the bodysuit. Anyway, so leggings contains leggings and tight...
А це цікавий варіант. Тобто, якщо штани, то зверху купальника, а якщо колготи, то знизу купальника. Це дійсно корисний деталь повідомити.
And tall socks and biker shorts. Socks does not contain any leggings, but it does also contain tall socks. So I don't know why some tall socks get to be some places and others don't. But anyway, there are the accessories. And finally, shoes. Shoes are also broken into categories by sandals, flats, loafers, slippers, heels, wedges, sneakers, lace-ups, and boots. Another thing to sort of be mindful of. Shoes may make your Sim's feet look like they're slightly different.
Дійсно, ця деталь, як працюють слої. Хоча мені цікаво, а з верхнім одягом теж можна робити різні слої? Чи воно просто зверху то зверху, знизу то знизу?
Proportions. Alright, we've made a sim. I even dressed the sim. Let's name the sim. So, clicking up here, we've got hello, my name is, and you can pick any old name or you can randomize it. You can randomize pretty much anything with this button, which I did forget. Did that say Trash Man? I swear it said Trash Man. Anyway, you can change the name up here. You can also change your pronouns. Now, they do have some default sets. They have they, them, she, her, he, him. You can also customize your pronouns. This does require a bit of grammar knowledge, and this is a wee bit bugged last I knew. If we click over to the plumb bob, we have even more options. So starting here, of course, we can switch between a male or female frame. We can also change it here. Look at that. Masculine or feminine frame is the actual game lingo. We can also change our general clothing preference over here, so that'll just automatically set the filters over to the side. We can also set whether your sim will be able to become pregnant, get others pregnant, or neither. You cannot do both, just so you know. We can also choose whether or not the sim can produce milk, which is just whether or not they can nurse babies, and whether or not they can use the toilet standing. We can also set sexual orientation now. I don't believe that this is locked behind any packs, so the sim is romantically attracted to, and then whether or not they're still exploring. If you set this, for example, to women and no, then your sim just will not be romantically interested at all in any male sims. Romantically. We can also set that to being interested in woohoo with them or not. So all sorts of fun little settings that we can do there.
Ну, так, добре. Це дійсно дає варіанти в налаштуваннях, якщо ви зацікавлені в романтичній частині гри. Ось. Але враховуючи, що тут можна створити, по суті, не тільки чоловічих та жіночих персонажів, а й щось посередині, тому ці налаштування трохи обмежені. Тобто створити можеш ти будь-кого, навіть того, що в природі не існує. А от вибір у коханню у тебе досить дуальний.
To the right of that, we have all of the different life stages. I'm afraid if I click these, my sim's gonna lose everything again, but hey, I guess we'll find out. So, there are technically 8 life stages in The Sims. However, newborn is not an option in Create a Sim. The youngest you can go is infant. You can see that, for example, makeup is locked for infants. Infants don't get makeup, and they also don't have quite as many clothing, like, category options and stuff. These will just slowly unlock as they age. But for the most part, like, all the different settings for the face and being able to enter detailed edit mode and change the little things here and there. Like, all this is largely the same. You're smart, you'll figure it out. We also have the toddler phase, the child.
Так, здається, чим молодший персонаж, тим менше у нього варіантів одягу. Не дивно, що так багато кастомізованого контенту, одяг для дітей і малюків.
Child age, the teen age, the young adult age, then the adult, and finally the elder. So there are some changes between these. Obviously, size is a big one until you get to be a teen, and then from teen and so forth, it pretty much just redistributes body weight a little bit, sags some things, and also adds some wrinkles for you. I'm going to turn my clock back on so I can show you the walk styles. So over here you can set walk styles. So there's the default walk style, perky walk style, the snooty walk style, swagger walk style, feminine walk style, tough walk style, the goofy walk style, the sluggish walk style, the bouncy walk style, and the creepy walk style. Any of these things may be locked behind packs that I don't remember, so if you don't have something in your game, before you freak out and think it might be broken, like if you don't have creepy walk, you can do a quick Google, see if it actually came with vampires or not.
Це дійсно, тобто, мені цікаво, як ці вибір типу ходи впливає взагалі на анімацію. Хіба що це просто те, як персонаж інколи ходить, а не взагалі пересувається. Я думаю, що це буде впливати на всі анімації, але це те, що потрібно просто перевірити на практиці. Бо, здається, це просто те, як ваш персонаж інколи буде ходити, коли він не виконує якусь функцію.
We're going to stick with default here. We can also change the voice. So there are 3 feminine settings and, well, 3 feminine bases, I should say, and 3 masculine bases. And you can adjust the tone on each one as well. I'm gonna quickly sneak in another sim here so I can show you the last little action here, which is edit relationships. They can be household member, sister, wife, daughter, or fiance. Now, if you choose any of the family options, sister, wife, or daughter, you can also choose a family dynamic if you have growing together, which are close, distant, jokers, or difficult. These can also be developed in-game.
Здається, збільшилось налаштування більше у взаємовідносинах між персонажами, коли ти їх створюєш. Це досить цікаво.
so if you don't want to set that quite yet, no worries. Now let's talk about traits and aspirations. So the aspiration is this big old glowing gold thing. Once again, this varies slightly by age, and you don't actually get aspirations until you're a child. There are multiple different aspiration categories depending on which packs you have. Some of them only have one, where others have as many as 9 different aspirations to choose from. Each collection has a bonus trait. If you hover over it, it'll tell you what it is. For example, nature gets the bonus trait collector, which means your sim will be able to find rare collectibles more often, and the individual aspiration will show you a general snapshot of what you're going to be doing. Now, each aspiration has certain tasks to complete, and after you complete the tasks, you get points which you can spend for bonus traits or money tree seeds or what have you. Next up are likes and dislikes. Now, these are again split into categories. They may depend on what packs you have, but if you select any of them, then there will be all of the options that are currently tagged in the game. So these are all the music options that are currently in the game, all the different color tags in the game, all the different sim characteristics in the game. I encourage you to go through and take a look at these. Also be aware that they do have more power than you may realize. For example, I had a sim once who decided she didn't like the color blue, and I had pretty much blue jeans on all of her outfits. So that was rough. Now, for traits. These traits you must choose before you start playing with the sim. Adults have to have 3, but you can discover up to 3 more through gameplay, as well as buy more from the aspiration rewards little store thing. Once again, we have multiple different categories, including emotional, hobby, lifestyle, and social. Some of these are a little bit more powerful than others, and some of them don't combine. For example, you cannot have a sim that is both evil and good. However, you can have a sim that is good and has a deviance aspiration, so that's interesting. Some traits have some secret little perks. For example, the dance machine trait has the disco nap ability, where you take a nap that's basically a nap length but a full night's sleep. It is so handy for rags to riches. The clumsy one doesn't affect gameplay as much. They just sort of like fall over a lot, which is kind of funny. A lot of options. You can also randomize, which is great. I'm now a party animal who is active and jealous. Great. Now there are still a lot of buttons to go, so we're going to go through them as quick as I can. I already kind of touched on this one, which is the add a sim button. You'll have up to 6 options here depending on your packs. There are genetics, which will let you create genetically related sims, randomize the genetics, any age. There you go, bam, you got a kid. How cool is that? You can also download a sim from the gallery. If you select households, only sim households will show up. So there you go, you can add some sims from the gallery. And I can either merge, which will add them to my existing family, or replace, which will replace all of the current sims that I have. So here's what a merge would look like. I still have the sims I created as well as this family, and a replace would just wipe everybody out. Now this can't be undone. I didn't think that through. Oh well. Another option is to create an occult sim. We currently have in the game aliens, vampires, mermaids, spellcasters, and werewolves. Now generally when you make a sim that is an occult, you'll have a human form as well as the occult form. Aside from that, everything's pretty much the same. If you want a separate video specifically going through each and every kind of occult and create a sim and like highlighting all the differences, I can do that.
Цікаво. Тобто можна регулювати, що копіюється між двома формами неприродних сім'їв. Тобто можна зробити, щоб у тебе при зміні навіть голос змінювався. Це цікаво.
We could also add a pet. So this can be a dog, a cat, a horse, or make a mixed breed. Also feel like this goes without saying, but the different traits for the cats, dogs, and horses are all different from one another and different from the sims. Yeah, anyway, we also have the option to just add a new sim, which would be a completely randomized sim. And finally, we can add a sim via a story. So this one, you would go through and answer a bunch of these questions. I am totally paying so much attention to these, and you can see that it's selecting different aspirations and traits for us as I go through these, and you can always click new question if you don't like these, and if the game crashes, I will riot. So anyway, because we created a sim with a story, we can't actually change a lot of this stuff. So we're already an entertainer, we have standard starting funds with the photography and violin skill.
Якщо чесно, я хочу спробувати цю історію. Хоча обмежене редагування мене дещо насторожує. Боже, скільки я вже це записую. Добре, але це дійсно цікава опція, коли ти хочеш створити щось цілісне, але не покладатися на гральні кубики. щоб воно випадково тобі все підібрало. Це дійсно цікава опція, треба буде спробувати.
Already, we can't change any of this. We can't change the name and still go through and customize all the other stuff we were looking at. So that's how you add a sim through the story. Then I guess this is our sim now. What's your name? Autumn Row. What's next? Oh, I guess these buttons down here. So these can rotate your sim. I feel like you knew that already. We can also randomize the sim, like so. You can also set what randomizes. For example, maybe I like the sim, but I kind of want to change the outfit and I just want to see what the game comes up with. So maybe I will keep my voice, skin tone, face, and body shape, but I want to see what some other stuff looks like. Then I can randomize.
Тобто ти можеш навіть і підібрати, що буде у тебе випадково підбиратися за допомогою гральних кубиків. Це дійсно цікаво, тобто ти не хочеш змінювати все, ти просто хочеш змінити певні деталі, вони тобі не подобаються, ти не можеш зрозуміти, що з ними робити. Просто випадково підбирати щось інше. Це дійсно зручне налаштування. Налаштувань стало набагато більше, окрім кольору та зачісків.
And there we go. How delightful. We can also undo and redo. There's also this super cool button, which is randomize from gallery, which is not available for sims created through a story, so let me just add a random sim again. And this will randomly grab a sim from the gallery. You can hover over this tiny little eye, or click on it rather, and it'll actually tell you who it's by. This one is by Sim Guru Jill, and if we click on that, it will actually take us to their little page thing. This one's by Sim Guru Jill as well. Wait a minute. Sim Guru Jill, are you the only person making?
Досить цікаво, що вони дуже так інтегрували саме галерею у створення сімів. Це одночасно зручно і ненав'язливо. Думаю, це добре.
These? Oh no. Azure Badazure. That's actually hilarious. I love that so much. Anyway, so that's a nice way to get a random sim that's not a complete hot mess. Thank you, EA. Also, random sims from the gallery come with names, traits, and aspirations. Everything already sorted out. Isn't that so nice? Moving along the bottom, we also have the cancel button, which will just bring you back to wherever you just were. For me, that would bring me back to the starting menu, because that's where I loaded in from. Or the play button, which will bring you back to wherever you were, but actually save your changes. Since this is a new save, that will bring me into the select your world menu thingamajig. But if you were entering create a sim through like your dresser in your kitchen, why would you have a dresser in your kitchen, you weirdo? Then it would bring you back to whatever you were playing at the time. Up here in this corner, we have save household. Now, you may have heard that you cannot save sim.
Так, звісно, я не розумію, навіщо так довго нам пояснювали про, знаєте, очевиднішу частину інтерфейсу, тобто до гри або скинути все. Я не розумію, чому так цьому приділили увагу, але, мабуть, комусь це не зрозуміло. Хоча це найочевидніше. Думаю, з голосом і ходою це значно заплутаніше.
While you're in the middle of them. Not entirely true. They do need to have a few things like a name and some traits, but you can throw anything in there and actually save it to your library at any given time and come back to it later. We all know perfection could only be achieved through 12 hours of grinding and create a sim, and my friend, you need to take a snack break, go get a drink of water, maybe take a nap, okay? The sims will be safe here when you come back, just save them to your library and come back later. We also have the gallery button up here so we can open the gallery. Side note, if there's this little green flag in the corner, that means it contains packs that you do not have, and this is different from the custom content flag, which is this little wrench looking thing.
Добре, що тут вони зробили в галереї одразу позначки, тобто, що у тебе немає для цього певних доповнень або каталогів, і окремо з кастомізованим контентом. Зараз у спільноті Sims досить дивне ставлення до кастомізованого контенту. Але про це якось іншим разом.
Here. If for whatever reason you are not currently connected to the gallery, whether you disabled it or you don't have an internet connection, this will just bring you to your library, which will look something like this, except with your stuff in it. This is your notifications. I don't have any currently, but if I were to take a screenshot, that would show up in here if you were loading into Create a Sim from the game and you had notifications like so-and-so just invited you to prom or whatever, that would still be up in this menu. And finally, we have the options menu, which is pretty much the same as everywhere. Okay, I told you I'd tell you how I made the sim stand still. Here's what I did. First, I zoomed in so my sim would be looking forward, which is just handy, and then I pressed Control-Shift-C. Your controls may be different. Check what's on screen currently to know what you gotta do. Next, you type in CAS clock speed 0. And when you hit enter, your sim will be frozen, so make sure you don't do it on a blink, because that would be awkward. And now my sim is frozen, which is great. This can be super handy if you're spending hours grinding on a mermaid, or a werewolf, or a spellcaster, or a vampire, and they keep making weird noises and whatever. Now, the cast clock speed max, well, normal speed, I should say, is...
Отож, це про чіт-коди, котрі ти можеш використовувати для при створенні сіма. Якщо чесно, то тут не так багато людей їх використовує, бо вони не так тобі багато дають. Найбільше, що я чула, це просто вони відкривають доступ до заблокованих об'єктів і все. З іншого боку, наприклад, чіт-код, щоб не блимай. Не думаю, що при створенні це так важливо. Тут хіба що ти робиш знімки свого сіма прямо у CAS. Тоді це важливо, щоб у тебе не було дурнуватого виразу обличчя. Або коли він там блимнув. Але так, на практиці, я не думаю, що це дуже потрібно.
1. So if I set it to 1, it's just going to go back to normal. If I set it to 0.5, it'll go at half speed, which is just a little bit weird. It's fine. You can also speed it up, so I could do cast clock speed 5, which would be 5 times the normal speed. Isn't that fun? And the other cheat is cast.full edit mode, which you cannot actually enter in Create a Sim. So let's say you're in Create a Sim. You spend so much time in Create a Sim. You made the perfect little family. Oh, gotta pick a season. Hang on. You made the perfect little family, and all of a sudden you realize, dang it, I forgot to actually marry them. That is so embarrassing. You can press Control-Shift-C and type in cast.full edit mode. When you go back into Create a Sim, such as plan outfits, you can now access everything again. And I can be like, oh, thank goodness. We are married, and we have a jokester relationship. Heck yeah. And now...
Отож, тут про чіт-коди, якщо ви так довго створювали і щось там не налаштували, просто вводите цей чіт-код і редагуйте далі. Хоча, я теж думаю, це тільки для надзвичайних випадків.
We're back. Bada bing, bada boom. That can also be helpful if you want to adopt a certain breed of dog or horse, or age up or age down one of your...
Думаю, де найменше використовуються чіт-коди у цій грі, це саме при створенні персонажів. Це більше при будівництві, там де це навіть і вважається нормою. І коли саме в процесі гри, де до цього ставляться суперечлива спільнота. Але я кажу, чіт-коди всім це взагалі окрема тема.
Family members, or your child aged up into a teen with some really, really interesting genetics. And don't you dare judge me. We all judge, okay? We've all been there. Hey guys, Sam from the future here. I was editing and realized a couple of things I think I should have clarified a little bit better. So, when we were talking about body hair and enabling the hair growth and all that stuff, I should have also mentioned that the same does actually apply to facial hair in the male category with the beards, goatees, and mustaches. You can select your preferred hair, it'll grow out. Your
Цікаво, а жінці можна зробити такі гарні вуса, а? Або хоча б маленькі.
can shave, and so on. I also wanted to point out that some hats don't engage well with some hairs and may cause them to clip up weirdly. Generally, this isn't an issue for down hair like this, but if you were to have an updo like this, the hats may cut it off. So if you plan on having a sim that wears a lot of hats, you're going to want to consider this when you're choosing your hair. I also didn't mention that the gold icons usually means there's something new in that category. And one feature that is available for the animals and the werewolves is to actually go into paint mode for the coats. You can't paint mermaid.
Отож, це парадокс. Ти не можеш налаштувати колір волосся людини, але ти можеш це зробити з конем. Або котом чи собакою. Тобто тваринам можна мати будь-яке забарвлення, а людям тільки регламентоване. У коней більше прав на самовираження, ніж у людей. Це дійсно дивна гра.
Details, unfortunately, but you can paint horses, cats, and you can paint dogs. They don't all have the exact same tools, but I did want to show you that this is a possibility, because I forgot. And I believe...
Так, добре. Думаю, що зараз серйозно. Так, не знаю, додивлятися це відео до кінця. Давайте додивимося. Чи зупинитись на цьому? Тут вже воно все. Думаю.
But that is everything you need to know about Create a Sim. If you learn
Так, тут сам автор сказав, що це все, що потрібно знати. Але серйозно, якби був такий чіткод, щоб давати можливість регулювати людям з волоссям те саме, що з шерстю собак та котів і коней, і кого там ще можна створювати, то ним би користувались частіше. Так, ну я не розумію, чому ти можеш розфарбувати коня як хочеш, але зробити собі якусь варіацію кольору волосся ти не можеш. Де логіка? Ось. Хоча, наскільки я зрозуміла, у цій грі такі питання виникають час від часу. Добре, отож я подивилася керівництво, як створювати сімів, як усе працює у CAS, і це було дійсно корисно. Це зекономить мені час. Ось, тут було багато цікавих деталей, було багато очевидних деталей, але коли кажуть повний гайд, воно зазвичай так і є. Тому це відео було корисно. Посилання на нього під відео буде. Бо я людина чесна і не буду привласнювати чужу інтелектуальну власність. Отож, якщо вам сподобалась моя реакція, підпишіться на мене. Якщо вам сподобалось відео, на яке я реагувала, підпишіться на цього автора. Бувайте, сподіваюся, це записалось.